Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky.
We're finished. Here's ABC. With Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the new word in President Bush's campaign vocabulary, PAT, as in Pat Buchanan. The day after getting a scare from Mr. Buchanan in the New Hampshire primary, Mr. Bush began referring to his Republican opponent by name and made it clear he's going to go after him. The president was in the South today, determined to spend a lot more time campaigning than he did in New Hampshire. Here's ABC's Britt Hume.
By the time he got to Tennessee this morning, the president had decided that an outcome that had been the stuff of White House nightmares only weeks ago not only wasn't so bad, but in fact was pretty good.
Since when has an 18-point victory been considered anything other than a landslide? Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have liked to do better, but I'm satisfied with the results, and now we're down here, and we're going to take this guy on in every single state.
The president suggested he'd been too passive in New Hampshire.
All I did was lay back and get hammered by these Democrats, and to some degree by Pat.
There it was, his first mention ever of Buchanan's name. But he said he would now do a better job of defining his opponent, a man who has thrived on controversial positions. The president was happy to provide a politically explosive example.
Well, I don't think Social Security ought to be voluntary. That's the Bush position.
White House aides cited an 8-year-old Buchanan newspaper column that criticized the Social Security program and asked, quote, why not make Social Security voluntary?
You know, I think Social Security system is not going to be touched or changed by anybody. Everybody knows that.
And as for that column,
good heavens, I don't know what I wrote 27 years ago. They may be digging through the files.
They are digging through the files, and the president will attack Buchanan for his opposition to the Gulf War. But while Desert Storm may have been the mother of all battles, New Hampshire suggests that the U.S. economy is now the mother of all issues, and that after 3 years in office, the president may find that simply having a plan for economic recovery is not enough, that the voters want the actual recovery. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
And we have a final update on the New Hampshire primary results. All of the votes have now been counted, including the write-ins, and the gap between Mr. Bush and Mr. Buchanan is a little narrower, not 18 points, but 16. When all the votes are counted, the president gets 53% of the vote, Buchanan 37%. Mr. Buchanan called the close vote a wake-up call to the White House. More on its content from ABC's Jeff Greenfield.
Our message is today resonating across this nation and around the world.
But what is the message? Of course, New Hampshire's economy drove the vote, but there are less obvious, more ominous messages for the president.
And send Congress a message to...
Many conservative Republicans did not buy the president's attempt to make Congress and not him the economic villain. That suggests it might be difficult to make Congress the villain this fall.
No new taxes!
Bush betrayed our trust.
The New Hampshire vote also raises doubts about the president's strength in his party's conservative base. Buchanan is challenging Bush's claim to the legacy of Ronald Reagan, and New Hampshire has given him the visibility and the credibility to take that challenge national.
I think this is what we did.
That challenge has already revealed presidential vulnerability. The sense of weakness reflected in today's headlines gives Buchanan the chance to test other conservative messages, like the charge that Bush has sold out to the Washington establishment.
The special interests, the lobbyists, the registered and unregistered agents of influence, the bureaucrats, and the regulators who control so much of our destiny.
With more than $1 million in federal matching funds due him, Pat Buchanan is going to have the money for a credible campaign. And the prospect of a sustained, well-funded assault from his right flank is exactly what the president does not need. Jeff Greenfield, ABC News, New York.
Now to the skirmishing on the other side among the Democrats. There are a lot of politicians who write off Paul Tsongas' victory in New Hampshire yesterday because he comes from next door Massachusetts. And so Mr. Tsongas set out for Maryland today with two challenges: to prove that he can win somewhere outside New England, and to raise the money he needs to do so. Here's ABC's Jack Smith.
Tsongas spoke to an enthusiastic noontime crowd in downtown Baltimore. The primary here in 2 weeks offers the first real test of his electability outside his native New England.
It's no accident that this is where I came first. Maryland is critical.
Critical to test the appeal of his economic message, which runs counter to so much traditional liberal ideology.
The Democrats, however, proud we are of that tradition, are going to have to become aggressively pro-business, pro-economic growth, pro-jobs. Forget the rhetoric. Let's make this thing work.
Maryland is overwhelmingly Democratic, and with its ethnic mix and manufacturing base, more representative of the national constituency that Tsongas needs to get nominated than was New Hampshire. As the front runner now, candidate Tsongas has some advantages, more visibility and more cash. In the last 10 days, he's collected more in contributions than in all of 1991. And in Maryland, he'll need it. If Tsongas fails to demonstrate his appeal here March 3rd, and in the South on Super Tuesday a week after, New Hampshire will be remembered as the high watermark of this long-shot campaign for president. Jack Smith, ABC News, Baltimore.
Governor Clinton, who went from front runner in New Hampshire to something of a distant number 2, then climbed back to within 9 points of Mr. Tsongas, headed south today, where he expects and needs to do much better. ABC's Jim Wooten went with him.
The governor came down from the cold, cold north to a well-staged welcome in Atlanta. It wasn't exactly Arkansas, but for Clinton, close enough.
I can say this, it's wonderful to be back in a place where I am the only candidate without an accent.
He was back on Southern soil today to try to prove that his Southern base is undiminished and undiluted by the character questions raised in New Hampshire. And while his campaign wondered whether Tsongas would fight in the South or if Clinton should challenge him in Maryland, he let his old pal, the governor of Georgia, raise questions about Senator Tsongas.
The truth is, Paul Tsongas would lead the party we love right back down that same well-worn path of defeat.
Clinton himself questioned the electability of somebody else.
In New Hampshire yesterday, over 40% of the Republicans voted against the re-election of George Bush for president of the United States.
That's the theme the governor will play over the next few weeks, that no matter how decent and honest Senator Tsongas might be, he can't beat the president in November. But to make that argument, Clinton has to win here in Georgia in less than 2 weeks and all across the South on Super Tuesday. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Atlanta.
Well, the primary in New Hampshire hasn't washed anyone out of the race. Senator Kerry went on to Maine today, which will hold caucuses on Sunday. And former California Governor Jerry Brown was in Maine. He spent virtually no money compared to the other candidates in New Hampshire. He came in fourth and said he was pleased. And Senator Tom Harkin is in South Dakota. The primary there is next week. In a moment, some of the other news. The Food and Drug Administration listens to the arguments in favor of silicone gel breast implants. On the American agenda tonight, sustaining California's growth with very tough energy standards. And finally, why Hollywood is so excited about animation.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Cotton Incorporated.
In the midday sun, a gentle breeze, the embrace, wide eyes, remember these, the touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives, the touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Kids loved my ice cream. Had to take their word for it. Meet the ice cream man who couldn't eat ice cream. So you want 2 scoops or 1 scoop? Funny, huh? Same trouble digesting milk, cheese. Made my stomach nuts. Anyway, that was before dairies. I just chew some tablets and eat what I want. That's opened up a whole new world for me. How's it taste? Good?
The Food and Drug Administration today heard the argument for silicone gel breast implants. An FDA panel reviewing the safety of the implants heard from doctors, patients, and the companies which manufacture the implants, all of whom said they were safe and should remain on the market. Here's ABC's Bettina Gregory.
Manufacturers insisted there is no link between silicone gel implants and autoimmune disease.
Any connection between silicone materials and autoimmune conditions or diseases is likely to be coincidental rather than a cause and effect relationship.
And manufacturers brought on plastic surgeons to dispute reports the implants often break after surgery.
This is a capsule containing a gel-filled implant that has been in place for 21 years.
This doctor said the FDA should not ban silicone implants because the saline substitutes do not look as natural.
You've committed many patients to a breast which is far from normal compared to a gel-filled implant.
Congresswoman Marilyn Lloyd angrily denounced the FDA's temporary ban on the implant, saying she's been forced to wear a prosthesis after recent surgery for breast cancer.
Every day that I wear a prosthesis, I'm reminded of my cancer. And my quality of life has been put on hold by an unjustified moratorium.
But it seems unlikely the panel will recommend to give silicone gel implants a clean bill of health or to ban them outright. They'll probably seek some middle ground, making them available to some women under certain conditions. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Washington.
Economic news today, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, told Congress that while the overall outlook remains uncertain, he sees some signs of stirring in the economy. Inflation remains low, consumer prices rose just 0.1% in January, and construction of new homes and apartments was up 5.5% last month, mostly because of a surge in new housing starts throughout the Midwest. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 5.5 points today to close at 3230, and the trading was heavy. The Boeing Corporation announced today that it is likely to eliminate about 6,500 jobs in the state of Washington this year. Boeing says the cutbacks are mostly because of reduced orders from the Pentagon. And the General Accounting Office says today that the Air Force has $11 billion more in equipment and supplies on hand than it needs. The GAO says the people who order supplies for the Air Force have no way to tell what's already in their warehouses. And so they just order more. We'll be back in just a moment.
Imagine a rent-a-car company that offers special delivery right to your door. That's Enterprise.
Here, let me help you.
Enterprise, a special rent-a-car company that gives you special delivery.
What do you smell?
I can't smell anything. My nose is clogged, man.
For fast relief, try Dristan 12-hour nasal spray. Now smell.
It's an orange. Dristan nasal spray just works incredibly fast.
Dristan, the face of relief today.
Introducing Maxwell House Light. It tastes as rich as Maxwell House coffee.